Within seconds, a colossal soul emerged from the boss's corpse, detaching itself and standing motionless before Lin. It lowered itself by kneeling on one knee, as if awaiting orders from its master. The Ghost Emperor's attributes were undiminished, even after being a summoned creature. Remember the games from your childhood where you'd spend hours defeating bosses, only to unlock them as playable characters, and then discover they were disappointingly weak? That's not happening here. Not only were the attributes undiminished, but its skills and special traits were also unchanged. Despite retaining its vulnerability to holy type abilities, Lin was more than satisfied with this outcome. Mo Yun, witnessing all of this, was momentarily at a loss for words. Staring at Lin in disbelief, she murmured, "That's it? It's over just like that?" I'm pretty sure she didn't mean it that way. She was actually marveling at how Lin could so swiftly defeat the battlefield Ghost Emperor all by himself. Everything seemed too incredible to believe. She had one last question. How powerful was Lin really? Lin, not far away, held his scythe, summoning the Ghost Emperor's soul back into it before turning to walk towards Mo Yun. He handed her one of the Nirvana crystals. Mo Yun, in a fluster, caught it with both hands. Her expression quickly turned to surprise. The sight of the small crystal made her face flush with excitement. She had been searching for the Ghost Emperor on the Yuan battlefield for so long, and finally obtaining the Nirvana crystal meant that she now had at least 60% confidence in elevating her profession. She firmly believed she could become a Holy Spirit summoner upon her second-class transfer. Holding the Nirvana crystal, she silently vowed that the glory of her family would continue through her. Reflecting on this, Mo Yun quickly expressed her gratitude to Lin, who might not yet grasp the significance of the crystal to her. She had been waiting for this moment for a long time. Otherwise, she would have already reached level 40 and undergone her second-class transfer. Everything was ready. All she needed was the Nirvana crystal. Lin waved his hand dismissively, saying she deserved it, acknowledging that it was Mo Yun who found the boss in the first place. Recalling their previous agreement that each person would get a crystal, this was the right thing to do. He then turned his attention to the other loot, including the 2 platinum-tier weapons and a special material. Glancing over at the Ghost Emperor's heart, which is the main material for the Ghost Emperor's necklace, Mo Yun stepped back with a smile, indicating she didn't intend to share these spoils. She patiently explained that the Ghost Emperor's necklace was a valuable boss-level accessory and offered to help Lin find a skilled alchemist to craft it, or suggest he ask Yi Yi to find one. Hearing this, Yi Yi giggled, informing Mo Yun that there was no need for either of them to bother, as Lin was already a disciple of White Divine. Mo Yun was taken aback by this revelation. She hadn't expected Lin to have such a status. Although she had never heard of White Divine taking disciples, she thought about it, and conceded that Lin indeed possessed the qualifications. After a brief exchange of small talk, Mo Yun's tone turned serious as she glanced back at the fallen members of the Dynasty Guild. She shared her concerns with Lin, particularly about Richard's death, who was the son of the guild leader, which was not something she believed they would overlook lightly. The guild leader of the Dynasty Guild, being one of the top third-class transfer professionals, despite Lin's association with White Divine, which could offer some protection, Mo Yun feared the possibility of behind-the-scenes retaliation. Lin had already pondered over these potential threats, but appeared unconcerned. With the entire Dynasty squad wiped out, no one will find out what happened here. But there is still one problem, which is the newly acquired loot and Nirvana crystals, as well as the recently summoned Ghost Emperor could give them away. As it turned out, just minutes ago, when the battlefield Ghost Emperor was finally slain, many human professionals had received a notification about its defeat and the drop of the Ghost Emperor's heart, sparking widespread astonishment and discussion. Meanwhile, at the Dynasty Guild headquarters, the guild leader had just received the new Ghost Emperor's heart, sparking widespread astonishment and discussion. Meanwhile, at the Dynasty Guild headquarters, the guild leader had just received the news of the battlefield Ghost Emperor's defeat with a trace of joy on his face. Despite his disappointment in Richard's academic setbacks, being rejected by several top academies, he believed that his guild was enough to train Richard independently. The squad members he had personally assigned to assist Richard had aimed to secure the Nirvana crystal for Richard's potential profession elevation. With that, attending top academies was irrelevant if he managed to evolve from a rare to a legendary profession. The guild leader was confident that his son would one day avenge his humiliations and become one of the strongest human professionals, who, unbeknownst to him, his son would never return. He signaled his secretary, optimistically expecting his son's growth from the expedition in the Yuan battlefield, and planning to commission a top alchemist to craft the Ghost King's necklace with the Ghost King's heart Richard was supposed to bring back. On the other side, back on the Yuan battlefield, Lin used corpse explosion several times to completely obliterate any trace of the bodies, ensuring no one would know what had transpired there. Apart from the 3 of them, no one was aware that it was they who had eradicated the entire squad of Dynasty Guild members. Mo Yun also promised to keep these events secret and to safely hide her crystal. After nodding to each other in agreement, they crushed their teleportation stones and left the area. In White Divine's small courtyard, the atmosphere remained relaxed with the 2 drinking tea as always. With the professional contest just 2 days away, they wondered when Lin would return. Meng Anwen couldn't help but smile at White Divine, intuitively guessing his concern about whether Lin had completed his task. Caught with his thoughts exposed, White Divine showed a rare blush. Meng Anwen then brought up the recent news of the battlefield Ghost Emperor being slain on the 3rd Yuan battlefield. He cast a meaningful glance at White Divine, hinting Lin might be involved. Just as White Divine was about to respond, a surge of energy fluctuated outside the courtyard. The next second, Lin teleported into the courtyard. He bowed and greeted them respectfully, and White Divine, returning to his serious demeanor, asked if Lin had completed the tasks assigned to him. Lin nodded and presented all the materials White Divine had requested. Satisfied with a glance, White Divine's expression changed slightly upon noticing the military badge on Lin's chest, expressing surprise to see Lin had already reached 2-star lieutenant. This was no easy feat, as it required a tremendous amount of battle against the abyssal demons to achieve, especially considering Lin had been accompanied by Yi Yi. This must have meant that Lin had slain over 400 low-ranking demons. Lin casually explained that he had actually slain several high-ranking demons along the way, leaving White Divine almost jumping with astonishment, and Meng Anwen spitting out his tea in disbelief. White Divine eagerly asked Lin to recount his experiences, while Meng Anwen quickly wiped the table with a cloth, having been startled into a rare loss of composure by Lin's story. Lin detailed what had happened in the elemental battlefield, starting from their arrival at the 3rd Yuan battlefield's border, encountering the first portal, and eventually getting attacked by Flame Demon Lord. He described how he farmed abyssal demons, and luckily destabilized the portal with a corpse explosion, which forced the portal to close. He then encountered a second portal which he handled more carefully, avoiding another confrontation with the Flame Demon Lord. White Divine laughed heartily, finding the notion of someone managing to vex the Flame Demon in such a manner amusing, commenting that the Demon Lord was probably fuming. Meng Anwen also smiled, praising Lin for his actions and encouraging him to keep up the good work. Lin, with a slight smile, then turned serious and mentioned his encounter with the Shuyan Divine Mage in the dungeon. This revelation made White Divine jump up abruptly, and Meng Anwen's teacup slipped from his hand. Both were surprised, and urged Lin to elaborate. After Lin recounted his experience, the 2 finally calmed down. Meng Anwen turned to White Divine, trying to suppress a laugh, and eventually couldn't help but let it out. Lin, puzzled, looked at them in surprise. It turned out that White Divine had also ventured into the same dungeon years ago, but hadn't encountered the Divine Mage. White Divine snorted, remarking that he was a nobody at the time because his profession hadn't been elevated yet. Regarding the time and space crystal entrusted to Lin by the Divine Mage himself, Meng Anwen decided to personally craft it into an abyssal teleportation stone. Taking the time and space crystal from Lin, Meng Anwen conjured a small tower in his hands. Lin was momentarily startled, because this very tower was no other than the powerful Divine Tower. In Meng Anwen's palm, the tiny version of the Divine Tower slowly rotated. It was unclear what Meng Anwen did, but a beam of light shot out from the Divine Tower, landing on the time and space crystal. The once dull crystal now shimmered with dazzling colors, eventually transforming into the shape of a teleportation stone. Meng Anwen handed the abyssal teleportation stone back to Lin, explaining that he had embedded the coordinates of the human world within it. Now, Lin could use it to travel back and forth between the human world and the abyss. However, there was a 1-hour cooldown between uses, Moreover, this teleportation stone could only be used by Lin himself. Lin was still dazed seeing what just happened, however. He quickly understood the immense value of this stone, and sincerely thanked Meng Anwen. White Divine picked up his teacup, and advised Lin to carefully hold on to the Divine Talent Stone given to him by the Divine Mage himself, which would be incredibly useful when he decides to undergo his third-class transfer at level 70. As for the staff, White Divine promised to find someone to see if it could be repaired. Lin then took the staff out of his storage space and handed it to White Divine. This item was a legendary weapon, and if it could be restored, it would be immensely powerful. The human race had very few legendary weapons, so having this weapon repaired was significant. Finding someone destined to wield it would also fulfill the Divine Mage's last wish. Lin then produced another item he had recently acquired, no other than the Ghost Emperor's heart. This item was green crystal-shaped, hard as a diamond, with vein-like patterns running across it. Upon seeing the item, Meng Anwen glanced at White Divine and chuckled, remarking that he had told him that Lin was the one who had slain the battlefield Ghost Emperor. White Divine coughed twice before swiftly changing the topic, inquiring if Lin had acquired any Nirvana crystals. Lin did not hide the truth, revealing that 5 had dropped in total, with Yi Yi and Mo Yun each taking 1, leaving him with 3. White Divine seemed to make an important decision, asking Lin for 2 of the crystals to assist with Lin's second-class transfer. Taking a deep breath and clenching his fists, as if about to lose something valuable, White Divine promised Lin that he had an 80% chance of having Lin elevate his profession during the second-class transfer, and a 30% chance of awakening a second talent. Lin was momentarily surprised, since Mo Yun had said that even with her family's help, she only assured a 60% chance of professional elevation, without mentioning the possibility of awakening a second talent. Perhaps even she didn't believe it was possible. Seeing White Divine's expression, Lin knew that this time, White Divine must have had to pay a significant price to help him. In addition to everything White Divine had already done for him, Lin was deeply moved, respectfully bowing to White Divine in gratitude, while saying thank you, Lord White Divine. At the same time, Meng Anwen smiled and pushed a teacup toward Lin, his glance at the cup on the table perhaps carrying a hint of implication. Instantly, as if realizing something, Lin stepped forward, picked up the teacup, and offered it to White Divine. Disciple Lin greets teacher, he said. White Divine, satisfied, accepted the teacup, and drank it all in one gulp. Witnessing this, Lin felt a warmth in his heart, reminiscing about his deceased grandmother, his older sister, Yi Yi. And now, he had gained another family member in this world. White Divine watched his beloved disciple with satisfaction, advising him to rest well tonight as they would head to Nanhong City early the next morning. He instructed Lin to perform well in the professional contest, and to bring back the championship title. Lin nodded, respectfully bowed to both, and then departed. After Lin left, White Divine's expression broke into a content smile. Meng Anwen also teased and asked him if he was happy now. White Divine, the man he is, retorted that he was not happy at all, as he would have to spend all his savings in the coming years. Meng Anwen knew this old friend too well, and could tell that White Divine was actually delighted, even if he pretended otherwise. After teasing him a bit, Meng Anwen mentioned something Lin hadn't shared with him. Lin, Mo Yun, and Yi Yi had clashed with the Dynasty Guild over the battlefield Ghost Emperor, resulting in conflict and the death of the guild's young guildmaster. White Divine was puzzled as to why Lin hadn't mentioned it to them. From the tone, it's obvious that White Divine was dismissive of the Dynasty Guild, confident he could easily wipe them out with a single slap. Meng Anwen believed Lin intended to resolve the issue himself without troubling the both of them, advising White Divine not to intervene or make a fuss, letting Lin handle it. Should Lin be unable to resolve it, they would then step in. White Divine nodded. He liked Lin's way of doing things. Meng Anwen laughed heartily, continuing to jest with White Divine, clearly showing their disregard for the Dynasty Guild. The next day arrived swiftly, and countless individuals flocked to Nanhong City. Journalists, spectators, and contestants alike, all gathered for the once-in-a-few-years professional contest. The 5-man party, including Lin and Yi Yi, along with Tao Tao, Oliver, and Emma, exchanged greetings and chatted for a bit. They had never witnessed such a scene before. Countless people and a multitude of human professionals from all over the world. It was said that this year more than 100,000 teams had registered to compete, and the preliminary rounds were set to eliminate 90% of them. Only those teams that successfully passed the first phase of the test could stay. Failure meant immediate elimination. They lined up and awaited their turn to enter. After nodding to each other, the 5 of them stepped into the portal together, and the scenery before their eyes changed instantaneously. A long corridor appeared before them. The first phase of the contest was straightforward. To pass, they simply needed to defeat all the monsters present. Oliver promptly sprang into action, applying buff on everyone. Auras appeared around every one of them. Strength, agility, and defense enhancement, alongside countless other buffs. Just as Lin was about to summon his skeletons, Tao Tao interrupted him. Tao Tao didn't want Lin to do all the work. She wanted them to try on their own first, and if they couldn't handle it, then they would ask for his help. Hearing this, Lin nodded in agreement. Lin followed at the back of the party, and soon they encountered their first monster, which astonishingly resembled an abyssal hound. However, this little thing was significantly smaller in size. The casting of a detection spell revealed it was actually a simulated abyssal hound, and not the real thing, with much lower levels and attributes. Tao Tao judged it wouldn't be difficult to deal with. The team instantly sprang into action, with Tao Tao activating her charge skill, charging forward with tremendous force, and colliding with the abyssal hound. She then immediately followed up with a shield bash, striking the creature on its head with her shield, and plunging it into a stunned state. Suddenly, a shadow appeared beside it, no other than Yi Yi, who had stealthily approached the hound from behind. Her dual daggers plunged into the creature, instantaneously dispatching it. What followed was a hint of relief that crossed everyone's faces. It seemed like they were in for an easy run. However, based on Lin's experience, he suspected that this wouldn't be this simple throughout. Meanwhile, outside, the spectator seats were filled to capacity, and a giant screen displayed densely packed text listing the names of the team captains. Each team had a number next to its name, which changed from 0 to 1 when the first monster was killed. However, there were also those teams who got eliminated. Returning to the party, 3 more abyssal hounds appeared before them. Using the same tactics, Yi Yi executed Fatal Strike to swiftly deal with the first one, then threw her dagger at another, employing the skill Internal Explosion, quickly finishing the second. The remaining one was initially immobilized by Emma, then quickly slain by Tao Tao using a swift strike. What a rare sight. Our boy Lin finally got some rest. But how long do you think this will last? Anyway, at the end of the chapter, the artists also showed their respect for the one and only legend. May the legend rest in peace in the Dragon Ball universe.
Chu Ting wakes up in a bedroom in the arms of a lady and he is shocked by how he got into such a